kingdom or the land of Gondwana, and the land of Gondwana was further divided into Graha Katanga. It was further divided into Graha Katanga, and the Graha Katangas were further subdivided into different Gars, and these Gars were controlled by a Gond clan. These Gars were controlled by a Gond clan. Like if there were 2, 3 or 4, 5 or something Gars, they would be controlled by a Gond clan. And the Gars were further subdivided into Chaurasi. The Chaurasi had 84 number of villages. So the whole Gond kingdom or the land of Gondwana was further divided into different Graha Katangas, and each Graha Katangas had a number of Gars. The Gars were controlled by a Gond clan. Like one Gond clan would control one Gar and the other Gond clan would control the other Gar. And then the Gars were further subdivided into the Chaurasi, and one Chaurasi had 84 number of villages. The Gonds were the largest tribe in the central India. The Gonds were further subdivided into smaller clans which had their own Raja or Rai. The Gonds were further subdivided into smaller clans which had their own Raja or Rai. The half of the Gonds tribe used to speak the Gond language. Half of the Gonds tribe, more than half of the Gonds tribe spoke the language which was called Gondi language. Gondi, G-O-N-D-I, Gondi. And this Gondi language was made up of, or was a mix of, two different languages. The name of the two different languages was Telugu and the Dravidian language. Telugu and the Dravidian language. Dravidian. So, half of the Gonds tribe used to speak the language which was called the Gondi, and the Gondi language was a mixture of, or comprised of, two different languages, was made up of two different languages. One was Telugu and the other was Dravidian language. The Gonds belong to a larger tribe, the tribe to which Santals and Bhils also belong. So basically, the Santals, Bhils and the Gonds tribe belong to a larger tribe, and that larger tribe was the tribe which comprised the Santals, the Gonds and the Bhils. The Gonds used to live in a large forested area. The area was called the Gondwana. And they were traditionally agriculturists. They used to live in the land of Gondwana. They used to live in a forested area which was called the land of Gondwana or the Gondwana, and they were mostly agriculturists by occupation. The Gonds were agriculturists. They were agriculturists, mostly agriculturists. And they lived in forested area, lived in forested area, which was called Gondwana. And there in the land of Gondwana, in the forested area, they used to practice agriculture. They were agriculturists by occupation. they practiced shifting cultivation. What is shifting cultivation? Shifting cultivation. Shifting cultivation is a type of cultivation in which you burn down the land in which you have just harvested the crop. Like this is the land and you have harvested the crop. What you will do, that you will just lay the harvested crop onto the field and you would set fire on it. You will set fire on it, or you would set fire on a forest or on the weeds that were growing in the land, or you would set fire to the plants or the harvested crop. And so what was shifting cultivation? Shifting cultivation was a type of cultivation in which what you did was that, for example, let us suppose that you grew crops in this land and you harvested this land. Then the stalks that were left behind of those harvested crops were then laid on the field and they would be set on fire, and the ashes would remain on the field and they would return back the nutrients that were taken from the land. In that way, the land will once again become rich in different nutrients. It will become rich in different nutrients which were there in the soil. So this way, the nutrients remain intact into the soil. In shifting cultivation, you cut down the crop and you harvest it, and the stalks or the weeds or whatever small plants are left behind are then burnt down, and the ashes were mixed in the soil and they would transfer the nutrients. The ashes would bring the nutrients back into the soil from where they were taken in the first place. Right? The nutrients would come back into the soil, and they would do it every time they would grow a crop in a land. And they would then, just after leaving the ashes over there, they would leave the ground and they will not do anything over there for some time, and they will move on to a different land. And they will do again the same thing, that they will harvest the crop, and after harvesting the crop, the stalk, the weeds and other plants, small plants will be left over there, they will be burned, and the ashes will be spread onto the soil, and the ashes would bring back the nutrients that were taken from the soil in the first place. That way, the land which was about to go barren would then again be replenished. And they would do this everywhere wherever they shifted. And finally, what happened? They would come back to this place where they laid down the ashes, and now the ashes would have given back all the nutrients that it took it in the first place. Now they will start cultivation here again on the land which was burnt down, on the land on which they burnt down the stalks, the weeds and the small plants, and the ashes were spread all over the field. They would start cultivating crops over here again after some time. And this practice was called shifting cultivation. Okay class, so today's topic is Ahoms. The Ahoms tribal community established their own kingdom which was called the Ahom kingdom, which is in present day Assam. And the Ahoms community ruled for nearly 600 years, and it came in the 13th century. The Ahoms tribal community established their own kingdom which was called the Ahoms kingdom, and which is present day Assam, which was present day Assam, and they ruled for about 600 years, and they came in the 13th century. The Assam at that time was not known by the name Assam. The name Assam was given to it later in the century. Earlier it was known as the Kamarupa. Assam was not always known as Assam. Earlier it was known as Kamarupa. Then the Ahoms declined in the later half of 18th century and became part of the British India. In the later half of the 18th century, the Ahoms declined that is they lost to the Britishers and they became part of the British India. Then in the 18th century, the Ahoms declined and they became part of the British India. That is, they were defeated by the Britishers in India. Now, the Thai Ahoms. The Thai Ahoms were those Ahoms that practiced their own traditional religion and they spoke the language which was called Thai. The Thai Ahoms were those tribal community, they were those Ahoms that practiced their own traditional religion and they spoke the Thai language, the language which was called Thai. One of the greatest achievements of the Ahoms was that they defeated the Mughal forces in Saraighat in the year 1671. And who defeated the Mughal forces in Saraighat? Mughal forces were defeated by the Ahoms general whose name was Lachit Borphukan. Lachit Borphukan defeated the Mughal forces in Saraighat in the year 1671 and that was one of the greatest achievement of the Ahoms. The Ahoms general's name was Lachit Borphukan. Okay class, so the Ahoms established their own kingdom which was called the Ahoms kingdom, which is in present day Assam. Assam was not always known as Assam. It was earlier known as Kama Rupa and the Ahoms came in 13th century and they ruled for about 600 years, after which later half of the 18th century they declined, that is they were defeated by the Britishers and they became part of the British India. Then the Thai Ahoms which existed in Assam practiced their own traditional religion and they spoke the language which was called Thai language. Then the greatest achievement of the Ahoms was the defeat of Mughal forces in Saraighat, which was in 1671 and they were defeated by the Ahoms general whose name was Lachit Borphukan. Okay class, so now our chapter is complete.